August 27th, 1899, Volume 2, The Effect of Jesus Going to a Soul. This morning, while seeing my sweet Jesus, I felt a fear in me that it might not be him, but the devil, to deceive me. And Jesus, answering my fear, told me, "When I am the one that goes to the soul, all of her interior powers are annihilated and recognize their nothingness. And I, seeing the soul humiliated, make my love overabound like many streams, in such a way as to inundate her and strengthen her in good. All the opposite happens when it is the devil." August 27th, 1913, Volume 11, Snares and Rage of the Devil against the Soul Who Lives in and Speaks about the Divine Will, pushing other people against her. She must not feel disturbed, because she has Jesus with her. Finding myself in my usual state, I was lamenting with my always adorable Jesus about my poor current state. And with all the bitterness of my soul I told him, "Life of my life, you no longer have compassion for me. Why live? You don't want to use me any more. All is over. My bitterness is so intense and so great that I feel petrified for the pain. And what is worse is that while I remain all abandoned in your arms, as if I didn't give a thought to my great misfortune, the others, and you know who they are, whisper in my ear, 'How is this? Why? It might be that you've committed sins. You've been inattentive.' What is worse is that, while they say this to me, I feel that I don't want to hear them, as if they interrupted the sleep in which you keep me in the arms of your will. Ah, Jesus, maybe you did not pay attention to how hard this pain is for me. Otherwise you would come to my aid." And I told him many more silly things. Then blessed Jesus told me, "My daughter, poor daughter of mine, they want to sadden you, don't they? Ah, my daughter, I do so much to keep you at peace, and they want to disturb you. No, no. Know that if you dared to offend me, I would be the first one to be saddened, and the first one to tell you. So if I do not say anything, do not worry. But do you want to know who is the cause of this? The devil. He is consumed with rage, and every time you speak about the effects of my will to those who approach you, he blows up in fury, and, unable to approach directly the one who does my will, he goes around, approaching those who can get close to you under the appearance of good, in order to obtain at least the miserable purpose of disturbing the serene heaven of the soul in whom I delight to dwell. So he thunders and lightnings from afar, thinking of doing something. But unhappy him, the power of my will breaks his legs, making those thunders and lightnings fall upon himself. So he remains more furious than before. Furthermore, what you say is not true. What is the purpose of my state? You must know that for the soul who really does my will, the virtue of my will is so great that if I get close to the place where that soul is, in order to send chastisements, finding there my will and my own love, I do not feel like punishing myself in that soul. Rather, I remain wounded, and I faint. So instead of chastising, I throw myself in the arms of that soul, who contains my will and my love. I rest, and I remain all cheered. Ah, if you knew into what constraints of love you put me, and how much I suffer when I see you the least bit saddened or disturbed because of me, you would be more content, and the others would abstain from bothering you. And I, do you see, O Jesus, how much evil I do, to the extent of making you suffer? And soon, Jesus, my daughter, do not be troubled for this. Sufferings which come from the love of the soul contain also great joys, because true love, though it brings sufferings, is never separated from great joy and unspeakable contentments. August 27th, 1915, Volume 11. Fusing oneself in the divine will is filling oneself with all the qualities of Jesus. I was fusing myself in the most holy will of blessed Jesus, and while I was doing this, I found myself in Jesus. He told me, "My daughter, when a soul fuses herself in my will, it happens as when two containers, full of different fluids, are poured one into the other. Each of them remains filled with what the other contained. In the same way, the creature remains filled with me, and I with her. And since my will contains sanctity, beauty, power, love, and so forth, the soul, filling herself with me, fusing and abandoning herself in my will, arrives at being filled with my own sanctity, my love, my beauty, and so forth, in the most perfect way given to a creature. And I feel myself being filled with her, and finding my sanctity, my beauty, my love, and so forth in her. I look at her as if these were her own things, and I like it so much that I fall in love with her, keeping her jealously in the intimate place within me, enriching her and embellishing her continuously with my divine qualities, in order to be delighted and enamored more and more." August 27, 1926, Volume 19. Jesus gives the title to the book about his will. As I was in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus made me see the Reverend Father, who must occupy himself with the printing of the writings on the adorable will of God. And Jesus, placing himself near him, said to him, "My son, the title you will give to the book you will print about my will is this: The Kingdom of My Divine Will in the Midst of Creatures, Book of Heaven, the call of the creature to the order, the place, and the purpose for which he was created by God." See, I want the title also to correspond to the great work of my will. I want the creature to comprehend that his place, assigned to him by God, is in my will, and until he enters into it, he will be without place, without order, without purpose. He will be an intruder in the creation with no right at all, and therefore he will go wandering without peace, without inheritance. And I, moved to compassion for him, will cry out to him continuously, "Enter into your place. Come into the order. Come to take your inheritance, to live in your house. Why do you want to live in a foreign house? Why do you want to occupy a land that is not yours? And because it is not yours, you live unhappy, and you are the servant and the laughing stock of all created things. All things created by me, because they remain in their place, are in order and in perfect harmony, with all the fullness of their goods assigned to them by God. You alone want to be unhappy, but of a voluntary unhappiness. Therefore come to your place. It is there that I call you and await you. Therefore he or she who will offer to make my will known will be my spokesperson, and I will entrust to them the secrets of its kingdom." Then after this, he showed the whole creation, how all created things remain in their place, wanted by God, and therefore in perfect order and in perfect harmony among themselves. And because they remain in their place, the supreme will maintains their existence whole, beautiful, fresh, and ever new. And order brings communal happiness and universal strength to all. What enchantment to see the order, the harmony of all creation! And Jesus, resuming his speaking, added, "My daughter, how beautiful are our works! They are our honor and our perennial glory. All of them remain at their place, and each created thing fulfills its office perfectly. Man alone is our dishonor in our creative work, because by withdrawing from our will, he walks upside down, with his head down on the earth and his feet up in the air. What disorder! What disorder! It is disgusting to see him. By walking with his head upside down, he crawls on the earth. He becomes all upset. He transforms himself. His sight lacks the necessary span to be able to look. He cannot move around in space in order to know things, nor defend himself if his enemy is behind his shoulders. And he cannot go too far, because, poor one, he has to drag himself with his head instead of walking, because the office of walking belongs to the feet, while that of the head is to dominate. So doing his own will is the true and perfect tumble of man, and the disorder of the human family. This is why I care so much that my will be known, so that he may return to his place, no longer dragging himself with his head upside down, but walking on his feet, no longer forming my dishonor and his, but my honor and his. Look yourself. Do creatures not look ugly in seeing them walk with their heads on the ground? Don't you too feel sorry in seeing them so disordered? I looked, and I saw the heads down and the feet up in the air. Jesus disappeared, and I remained, looking at this ugly scene of the human generations, and from the heart I prayed that his will may be known. End of August 27th. Fiat.